It began with silence, not a declaration, not a threat, just absence. Across 47 systems, embassies stood abandoned, terminals blinked unanswered, and the voices of humanity, once so vibrant, were gone. Ambassador Thex-9 stood alone in Earth's once bustling consulate, the echo of his breath the only sound beneath a glowing message. We choose isolation. Do not follow. Panic swept the Galactic Senate. How could a species so deeply woven into the fabric of civilization vanish overnight? And then, the systems began to fail. What the galaxy had taken for granted was unraveling, because the quiet ones they underestimated had quietly held everything together. This is the story of the silent exodus, and the terrible realization that came far too late. The vanishing Ambassador Thex-9 adjusted his crystalline breathing apparatus as he approached the human diplomatic quarter on Station Nexus Prime. Something felt wrong. The usually bustling corridors were eerily quiet, and the familiar hum of human activity was completely absent. His forearms trembled slightly as he pressed his palm against the security scanner of the human diplomatic embassy. Access denied. Facility inactive. The mechanical voice echoed through the empty hallway. Thex-9 stepped back, his compound eyes reflecting confusion. For 73 years, the human embassy had never been inactive. Not once. Humans were notorious for their constant activity, their inability to sit still, their endless curiosity that kept them working at all hours. The Zephyrian ambassador had often joked with his human counterpart, Maria Santos, about how her species never seemed to sleep. Where was Maria? Where were the 12 human staff members who ran the embassy? Where were the security guards who always greeted him with those strange facial expressions they called smiles? His communication device chirped urgently. Ambassador Thex-9, this is Chancellor Vorth. Report to the Galactic Senate immediately. Emergency session in progress. The massive Galactic Senate chamber had never felt so tense. Representatives from 47 different species filled the circular hall, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, electronic beeps, and telepathic static. Chancellor Vorth, a towering being from the Corvani hegemony, stood at the center podium, his 6 arms gesturing frantically. Order! We must have order! Vorth's voice boomed through the translation systems. I am receiving reports from every sector of our alliance. Every single human diplomatic mission has gone silent. Every trade outpost, every research station, every settlement. Senator Quilks of the Tentacled Coalition raised one of her appendages. Perhaps their communication systems are experiencing technical difficulties. Humans are always tinkering with technology. Negative, replied Commander Zaroth, the military representative from the Crystalline Empire. My reconnaissance teams have conducted visual inspections of 17 human facilities across 9 systems. They are all completely abandoned, not destroyed, not damaged, simply empty. A ripple of concerned murmurs spread through the chamber. Thex-9 stood up slowly. Chancellor, I can confirm the same at Station Nexus Prime. The human embassy shows no signs of struggle or emergency evacuation. It appears they simply left. Dr. Yelan, the Aquarian delegate, spoke through her water-filled communication sphere. This is unprecedented in the history of the Galactic Alliance. No species has ever conducted a complete withdrawal from galactic society without notification or explanation. Chancellor Vorth activated the central holographic display. Red warning indicators appeared at hundreds of locations across the galaxy map. Each red dot represented a human facility that had gone silent in the past 24 hours. According to our preliminary investigation, Vorth continued, the withdrawal was not random. It was coordinated, systematic, and executed with military precision. Every human facility across 47 star systems went offline within the same 6-hour window. The chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. Such coordination required planning, resources, and communication networks that most species could only dream of possessing. Admiral Corvin of the insectoid hive stood up, his mandibles clicking nervously. Chancellor, my intelligence division has been monitoring human ship movements for the past month as part of routine security protocols. We detected unusual patterns 3 weeks ago. What kind of patterns? Vorth asked. Human cargo vessels began visiting their colonies and outposts following predetermined routes. We initially assumed it was some kind of supply run or equipment upgrade program. Now we realize they were conducting evacuations. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. 3 weeks of preparation. The humans had been planning this massive withdrawal for at least 3 weeks, and nobody had suspected anything unusual. Senator Mordain from the reptilian Concordat hissed softly. What could have motivated such drastic action? The humans seemed content with their position in the alliance. They contributed to our scientific endeavors, participated in our trade networks, and showed no signs of dissatisfaction. Thex9 remembered his last conversation with Maria Santos just 4 days earlier. They had been discussing the upcoming vote on the terraforming acceleration initiative that the humans had proposed. The initiative would allow rapid transformation of uninhabitable planets using advanced atmospheric processors and genetic modification techniques. The terraforming vote, Thex9 said aloud. 4 days ago, we voted on the human terraforming proposal. Chancellor Vorth checked his records. Yes, the Human Terraforming Acceleration Initiative was rejected by a vote of 298 against and 47 in favor. The humans said nothing during the debate and left quietly after the results were announced. Perhaps they were more upset about the rejection than they indicated, suggested Dr. Yelan. Upset enough to abandon galactic civilization entirely, replied Admiral Corvin. That seems like an extreme overreaction to a single political defeat. But Thex9 was beginning to understand that it might not have been about the vote at all. The humans had been planning this withdrawal for weeks before the vote even took place. The terraforming initiative might have been some kind of test, and the galaxy had failed. Science advisor Nexum, a floating energy being from the ethereal collective, pulsed with concern. We must consider what this means for galactic stability. Humans have been integrated into our society for 7 decades. They have contributed to countless research projects, established trade relationships, and provided technological innovations that have benefited everyone. How integrated were they exactly? Asked Chancellor Vorth. Nexum's form flickered as he accessed data from the galactic networks. More than we realized. Human-designed systems are present in medical research, transportation networks, communication arrays, and manufacturing processes across hundreds of worlds. Their absence will be problematic. The understatement of the millennium, thought Thex9. If humans had been contributing to critical systems throughout the galaxy for 70 years, their sudden absence could cause catastrophic failures. Commander Zaroth stepped forward. Chancellor, my military analysts are reporting concerning developments. Several Outer Rim defense installations are experiencing system malfunctions. These installations rely heavily on human-designed components and maintenance protocols. How long before these systems fail completely? Vorth asked. Unknown. We never fully documented the human contributions to our defense networks. They always handled maintenance and upgrades themselves, claiming it was more efficient that way. The full scope of the crisis was beginning to emerge. The humans had not just left quietly, they had taken with them decades of knowledge, expertise, and technological support that the galaxy had come to depend on without even realizing it. Senator Quilk spoke again, her tentacles writhing with anxiety. Have we attempted to contact them? Surely they left some means of communication. Chancellor Vorth activated another display showing the location of the human homeworld, or rather, where they thought the human homeworld should be. The display showed only empty space with a question mark. That presents another problem, Vorth admitted. In 70 years of contact with humanity, they never revealed the location of their home system. All communication was conducted through the diplomatic missions that are now abandoned. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. How had an entire species maintained such secrecy for so long? How had the galaxy's intelligence services failed to discover something as basic as the location of humanity's home? Dr. Yelan spoke through her communication sphere, her voice carrying a note of fear. Are we saying that we know nothing about where humans actually come from? That the 500,000 humans living among us were the extent of our knowledge about their civilization? That appears to be correct, Vorth replied grimly. Thex9 felt his respiratory system working overtime. If the humans living in galactic space were just a small fraction of their total population, how many humans were there really? How advanced was their actual civilization? And most importantly, why had they chosen to reveal so little about themselves? The emergency session continued for hours, but no answers emerged. Search teams were dispatched to follow the few clues available. Communication arrays were directed to broadcast messages into space, hoping humans might respond. Intelligence services began analyzing decades of human activity, looking for any hints about their true origins. As the session finally ended, Thex9 approached Chancellor Vorth privately. Chancellor, I believe the humans were testing us. Testing us how? The terraforming proposal. It was not just about technology, it was about whether we would accept them as equals, whether we trusted their judgment, whether we valued their contributions, and we failed. Vorth considered this possibility. If that is true, then they have been planning this withdrawal as a contingency for much longer than 3 weeks. Exactly. They may have been preparing for this possibility since they first made contact with us 70 years ago. As Thex-9 returned to his quarters, he found a small data pad on his desk. It had not been there before. With trembling hands, he activated the device. A simple message appeared in basic galactic script. To the Galactic Alliance, we came in friendship, offering knowledge and cooperation. We hope to find equals who would value wisdom over power, collaboration over dominance. Instead, we found a galaxy that dismisses what it does not understand and fears what it cannot control. We choose isolation over integration, silence over rejection. Do not follow us. Do not seek us. When you have learned to value knowledge over politics and cooperation over conquest, perhaps we will speak again. Until then, we wish you well in your endeavors. The Human Collective. Thex-9 stared at the message for a long time. The human collective. Not the human colonies, not the human settlements, but the human collective. It implied organization and unity on a scale that the galaxy had never imagined. Outside his window, the stars looked different somehow, less welcoming, more mysterious. Somewhere out there, humanity was watching and waiting. The question was, would the galaxy learn the lessons it needed to learn before it was too late? The silence had begun, and it would change everything. The Reckoning. 3 weeks had passed since the human withdrawal, and the galaxy was beginning to understand the true scope of what they had lost. Dr. Kalana of the Luminous Federation stood in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Starlight, surrounded by holographic displays showing system failures across 47 star systems. Her bioluminescent skin flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among her people. "Computer, show me the latest failure reports," she commanded, her voice barely steady. The holographic interface materialized before her, displaying a cascade of red warnings. Critical infrastructure failures were accelerating exponentially. What had started as minor inconveniences was rapidly becoming a civilization-threatening crisis. Her communication console chimed. "Dr. Kalana, this is Chancellor Vorth. Report to the Emergency Command Center immediately. We need your expertise." The command center aboard Station Nexus Prime had been converted into a crisis management facility. Dozens of specialists from various species worked frantically at control stations, trying to understand and contain the growing catastrophe. Chancellor Vorth stood at the central command platform, his 6 arms manipulating multiple data streams simultaneously. "Doctor, thank you for coming," Vorth said, his usual commanding presence diminished by exhaustion. "We need someone with your systems analysis background to help us understand what we're dealing with." Dr. Kalana approached the main display, which showed a real-time map of the galaxy. Red zones indicated areas experiencing critical system failures. The red was spreading like a plague. "What are we looking at?" she asked, though she feared she already knew. "Complete infrastructure collapse," replied Admiral Corvin, his insectoid features grim. "It started with minor transportation delays and power fluctuations. Now we're seeing total system breakdowns in medical facilities, manufacturing plants, and communication networks." Dr. Kalana began analyzing the data patterns. Her specialized knowledge in systems integration made her uniquely qualified to understand the scope of the disaster. What she discovered made her blood run cold. "Chancellor, this is worse than we imagined. The humans didn't just participate in our civilization, they became its foundation. Look at these integration patterns." She manipulated the display to show the underlying connections between failed systems. A complex web of interdependencies emerged, with human contributions forming critical nodes throughout the network. "The Meridian trade route that connects the core worlds to the outer rim," Kalana continued. "It relies on navigation algorithms developed by human mathematician Dr. Sarah Chen 30 years ago. When the humans left, they took the source code and maintenance protocols with them." "Can't we reverse engineer the systems?" asked Commander Zeroth. "We're trying, but the humans used coding languages and mathematical principles that we're only beginning to understand. Their approach to problem solving is fundamentally different from ours." As if summoned by their conversation, emergency alerts began flooding the command center. Medical Coordinator Vex Prime of the Healing Circle rushed in, his tentacles writhing in distress. "Chancellor, we have a medical emergency across 12 systems. The crystalline plague outbreak in the Andromeda sector is spreading unchecked." Vorth turned to face the medical coordinator. "I thought we had treatments for crystalline plague." "We do, but the treatment requires synthesized compounds produced using human-designed bioreactors. Without human technicians to maintain and operate these systems, we can't manufacture the medication." Dr. Kalana pulled up medical infrastructure data. The scope of the problem became clear immediately. Chancellor, human medical researchers have contributed to treatments for over 200 diseases affecting various species throughout the galaxy. They've developed surgical techniques, diagnostic equipment, and pharmaceutical processes that we've become completely dependent on. The medical crisis was just the beginning. Over the following days, reports poured in from across the galaxy. The Aquarian homeworld's water purification systems were failing because they relied on human-designed filtration technology. The atmospheric processors on terraformed worlds were shutting down without human maintenance protocols. Even simple things like traffic management systems in major cities were breaking down. Trade Administrator Zolnik of the Commercial Alliance arrived at the command center looking haggard. His usually pristine robes were wrinkled, and his mechanical augmentations sparked occasionally from stress overload. Chancellor, the economic situation is catastrophic, Zolnik reported. 73% of major trade routes are now completely non-functional. The shipping efficiency algorithms that humans developed over the past 50 years managed everything from cargo optimization to fuel consumption. Without them, transportation costs have increased by 400% and delivery times have tripled. What about alternative routes? Vorth asked. We're trying to implement them, but the humans had optimized the entire galactic trade network as an integrated system. Changing one route affects dozens of others. We're looking at complete economic collapse within 2 months. Dr. Kalana was beginning to see the full picture. The humans had not simply participated in galactic civilization. They had quietly revolutionized it. Their contributions were so fundamental and so deeply integrated that removing them was like removing the foundation stones from a building. Chancellor, she said, we need to understand something important. The humans didn't just help us, they transformed us. Every major advancement in the past 70 years has involved human innovation in some way. She activated a new display showing technological development timelines. Look at this progression. Before human contact, technological advancement in the galaxy was slow and incremental. After human integration, the rate of innovation increased by over 300%. You're saying they made us more advanced? Asked Admiral Corvin. Not just more advanced, more efficient, more integrated, more capable. They didn't just share their technology, they taught us new ways of thinking about problems. The communication console suddenly activated with an emergency signal. The image of Fleet Commander Thresh from the Outer Rim Defense Force appeared, his reptilian features showing obvious panic. Chancellor, the defensive perimeter around the Kepler system has failed completely. We're detecting incoming raider ships, but our response systems are offline. What happened to the quantum defense network? Vorth demanded. The network was designed and maintained by human engineers led by Dr. James Rodriguez. The system requires constant calibration using techniques that only the humans understood. Without them, the entire network is crashing system by system. Dr. Kalana felt her heart sink. The Outer Rim Defense Network protected over 300 worlds from pirates, raiders, and hostile forces. It was the most sophisticated defensive system in galactic history, capable of coordinating responses across vast distances using quantum entanglement technology. How long before complete defensive failure? She asked. At current degradation rates, maybe 6 weeks, Commander Thresh replied. After that, the outer systems will be completely defenseless. The implications were staggering. 300 worlds, billions of innocent beings, all protected by technology that only humans truly understood. More reports continued to arrive. The solar collection arrays that powered half the galaxy's energy needs were operating at reduced capacity without human maintenance. The quantum communication networks that enabled faster-than-light information transfer were experiencing increasing delays and failures. Even the artificial gravity systems on space stations were beginning to malfunction. Dr. Kalana worked tirelessly to understand the patterns of failure. What she discovered was both impressive and terrifying. The humans had approached every problem with a level of systematic thinking that other species had never achieved. They saw connections and interdependencies that others missed. They designed solutions that worked not just individually, but as part of larger integrated systems. Chancellor, she said during an emergency briefing, we need to face the truth. The humans weren't just contributors to our civilization. They were its architects. Over 70 years, they systematically improved, optimized, and integrated every major system in galactic society. But why? Asked Senator Quilks. Why would they invest so much effort in helping us? Because that's how they think, Kalana replied. Humans don't just solve individual problems. They solve system-wide challenges. They see the bigger picture in a way that we never did. The realization was humbling and terrifying. The galaxy's leaders had dismissed human proposals, ignored their suggestions, and treated them as junior partners, all while those same humans were quietly holding their civilization together. As the briefing continued, Ambassador Thex-9 received a priority message on his personal communicator. The message was brief but shocking. 12 more star systems have announced their intention to withdraw from the Galactic Alliance. They're blaming the Alliance leadership for the human departure and the resulting crisis. The political consequences were now matching the technical ones. The Galactic Alliance, which had maintained peace and cooperation for over 2 centuries, was beginning to fragment. Species that had worked together for generations were turning against each other, looking for someone to blame for the disaster. How did we not see this? Vorth asked quietly during a private moment with Dr. Kalana. Because the humans made it look easy, she replied. They solved problems so efficiently and so quietly that we forgot how complex those problems really were. They made our lives better without asking for credit or recognition. And we repaid them with dismissal and condescension. Yes, and now we're paying the price. Dr. Kalana looked out at the stars through the command center's viewing port. Somewhere out there, humanity was watching their former partners struggle with challenges that humans had solved decades ago. The question was whether they would ever be willing to help again. The galaxy was learning a painful lesson about the difference between intelligence and wisdom, between individual achievement and collaborative success. The humans had possessed both, and now they were gone. As system failures continued to cascade throughout civilized space, one thing became clear. The galaxy needed humanity far more than humanity had ever needed the galaxy. The reckoning had begun, and it would test every species' capacity for survival, cooperation, and humility. The silence from human space remained absolute, and time was running out. The awakening fleet Admiral Zorex stood on the command bridge of the massive exploration vessel Pathfinder, watching the largest search fleet in galactic history spread out across the void. Behind him, over 400 ships from 37 different species formed an unprecedented armada. Their mission was simple in concept but seemingly impossible in execution: find humanity. 2 months had passed since the human withdrawal, and galactic civilization was on the brink of collapse. The cascading system failures had reached critical mass. Entire sectors were now cut off from the galactic communication network. The outer rim defense grid had failed completely, leaving hundreds of worlds defenseless against raiders and pirates. Medical emergencies were overwhelming healthcare systems across dozens of species. The galaxy was dying, and only humanity possessed the knowledge to save it. Admiral, called Navigation Specialist Korith from her station, we've completed our scan of Grid Section 847. 3 more abandoned human facilities detected, but no signs of active occupation. Zorex nodded grimly. After 8 weeks of searching, they had discovered over 200 abandoned human installations scattered throughout the galaxy. Research stations, communication relays, manufacturing facilities, and supply depots, all empty, all stripped clean with surgical precision. That brings our total to 237 abandoned facilities, reported Intelligence Officer Valnix. Every single one shows the same pattern: systematic evacuation, complete removal of advanced technology, and no clues about their destination. Dr. Kalana, who had joined the search fleet as Chief Systems Analyst, looked up from her analysis station. Admiral, I've been studying the distribution pattern of these facilities. They form a network. She activated the main holographic display, showing the locations of all discovered human installations. Red dots appeared throughout known space, forming complex geometric patterns. These weren't random colonies or outposts, Kalana continued. This was a carefully designed infrastructure network spanning the entire galaxy. Each facility served specific functions: data collection, resource processing, communication relay, or strategic positioning. Admiral Zorex studied the pattern with growing amazement. You're saying the humans built a secret network throughout our space? Not secret. Invisible. They hid their true capabilities in plain sight. We thought we were dealing with a small population of explorers and scientists. Instead, we were interacting with the outer edge of a vast, organized civilization. The implications were staggering. If this network represented just the humans' external operations, what did their actual civilization look like? Commander Thresh of the Reptilian Defense Corps approached the command station. Admiral, my reconnaissance teams have found something unusual in the Vega sector. A human facility that wasn't completely evacuated. Show me, Zorex commanded. The main display changed to show a space station orbiting a gas giant in an uninhabited system. Unlike the other abandoned facilities, this one was still partially operational. The station appears to be an advanced research facility, Thresh reported. Our scans detect minimal life support and automated systems still functioning. Most importantly, we're detecting quantum communication arrays that are still active. Dr. Kalana's bioluminescent skin flickered with excitement. Admiral, if those quantum arrays are still operational, they might be connected to the human communication network. We could potentially make contact. For the first time in months, Zorex felt a spark of hope. Prepare a boarding team. Dr. Kalana, I want you to lead the technical analysis. Commander Thresh, provide security. We may finally have a chance to contact humanity. The research station was unlike anything the boarding team had ever seen. The interior corridors were designed for human proportions, but the technology embedded in the walls was far more advanced than anything in galactic space. Holographic interfaces responded to thought patterns rather than touch. Environmental systems maintained perfect atmospheric conditions for multiple species simultaneously. The computing systems used quantum processors that operated at speeds impossible with conventional technology. This is incredible, Dr. Kalana whispered as she examined the quantum communication array. The processing power in this single station exceeds the combined computational capacity of our entire fleet. The central computer core was still active, protected by security systems that had somehow recognized their peaceful intentions and granted limited access. As Kalana interfaced with the system, vast amounts of data began flowing across her analysis equipment. Admiral, she called over the communication channel, you need to see this. I'm accessing the station's research logs. The data that emerged painted a picture that fundamentally changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. The research station hadn't been studying space phenomena or alien cultures, it had been studying them. This station was monitoring galactic civilization, Kalana reported, her voice filled with awe and concern. For 70 years, the humans have been collecting data on every species, every government, every technological development, and every social trend in the galaxy. Spying on us? Asked Commander Thresh. No, studying us. Look at these research files. Comparative analysis of interspecies cooperation models. Technological integration patterns in multi-species societies. Predictive models for galactic stability. They weren't spying, they were trying to understand how to help us. Admiral Zorex felt a chill run through his system. Dr. Kalana, are you saying the humans' contributions to our civilization were based on decades of careful study? Exactly. Every innovation they shared, every problem they solved, every system they improved, it was all based on comprehensive analysis of our needs, capabilities, and potential. They understood us better than we understood ourselves. As Kalana continued to analyze the data, an even more shocking revelation emerged. The research station contained detailed records of humanity's internal debates about their relationship with galactic civilization. Admiral, I'm reading transcripts of what appear to be high-level human governmental discussions. They were genuinely conflicted about how much assistance to provide and how quickly to integrate with our society. The transcripts painted a picture of a species struggling with a profound ethical dilemma. They possessed technology and knowledge that could revolutionize galactic civilization, but they were concerned about the consequences of sharing too much too quickly. One transcript, dated just 6 months before the withdrawal, was particularly revealing. Council Session 2D847, The Galactic Integration Question. Dr. Elena Vasquez, Director of Xenological Studies. Our latest analysis indicates that continued technological assistance may be creating dangerous dependency patterns in galactic society. Multiple species are losing the ability to solve fundamental problems independently. Admiral Chen Wei, Human Defense Forces. The question before us is whether we're helping them grow or making them weaker. If we continue this path, what happens when they face a crisis we can't solve for them? Dr. Rajesh Patel, Chief Technology Officer. Perhaps it's time to implement the graduation protocol. Give them a final test to determine if they're ready for true partnership or if they need to develop independence first. Dr. Kalana looked up from the data with understanding dawning in her eyes. Admiral, the terraforming proposal wasn't just about technology, it was their final test. What do you mean? The humans designed it as a test of galactic civilization's readiness for true partnership. The terraforming technology they proposed would have allowed rapid rehabilitation of damaged worlds, but it required trust, cooperation, and recognition of human expertise. When we rejected it, we failed their test. Admiral Zorex felt the weight of galactic history settling on his shoulders. So they implemented their graduation protocol. Exactly. They withdrew to force us to develop independence, to learn to solve our own problems, to grow beyond our dependence on their invisible support. Suddenly, the quantum communication array activated on its own. The central display showed an incoming transmission request. The source identifier made everyone in the station freeze. Human Collective Council, Priority Alpha Communication. Admiral Zorex took a deep breath. Accept the transmission. The holographic display materialized to show a human woman of middle years, wearing simple clothing that somehow conveyed immense authority. Her eyes held depths of knowledge and experience that seemed to encompass centuries. I am Director Sarah Chen of the Human Collective Council, she said, her voice calm and measured. You are Admiral Zorex of the Galactic Search Fleet. We have been monitoring your progress. Director Chen, Zorex replied, trying to maintain diplomatic composure despite his racing heart. The galaxy is in crisis. We need humanity's help. We know. The question is whether you understand why we left. Dr. Kalana stepped forward. Director, we've been analyzing your research data. We believe we understand. You were testing our readiness for true partnership. Director Chen nodded slightly. Partially correct, but there's more. Admiral, what has the galaxy learned from our absence? Zorex considered the question carefully. Over the past months, he had watched species work together in ways they never had before. The crisis had forced innovation, cooperation, and creative problem-solving on an unprecedented scale. We've learned that we took your contributions for granted, he said finally. We've learned that solving complex problems requires collaboration and respect for expertise. We've learned that dismissing ideas we don't understand is a path to failure. And what else? Dr. Kalana spoke up. We've learned that we're capable of more than we thought. The crisis has forced us to develop new solutions, to think in ways we never did before. We're not the same species that dismissed your terraforming proposal. Director Chen smiled for the first time. Now you begin to understand. Humanity faced a choice 70 years ago when we first encountered galactic civilization. We could have revealed our full capabilities immediately, but that would have made you dependent on us permanently. Instead, we chose the harder path, to help you grow while hiding our true nature. Your true nature? Admiral Zorex asked. Admiral, the humans you knew in galactic space were volunteers, explorers, scientists, and diplomats who chose to live among other species. Our actual civilization spans multiple galaxies. We are far older and more advanced than you imagined. The revelation hit the command team like a physical blow. Multiple galaxies. A civilization spanning distances that seemed impossible. But despite our capabilities, Director Chen continued, we value growth over dependency, wisdom over knowledge, and cooperation over domination. The galaxy needed to learn these lessons independently. Have we learned them? Zorex asked. Director Chen was quiet for a moment, apparently consulting with others outside the transmission range. When she spoke again, her tone was warmer. The graduation protocol has been completed. The galaxy has demonstrated its capacity for independent problem-solving, cooperative innovation, and humble recognition of its limitations. Most importantly, you have shown the wisdom to seek help rather than let pride destroy everything you've built. Does this mean humanity will return? Some of us will, but the relationship will be different. We return as true partners, not as hidden benefactors. The galaxy has grown up, Admiral. You are ready for the real challenges that await in the cosmos. As the transmission ended, Admiral Zorex looked around at his diverse crew. Representatives of dozens of species who had worked together through the greatest crisis in galactic history. They were no longer the same civilization that had dismissed human proposals and taken their contributions for granted. The galaxy had awakened to its own potential, and humanity had been watching and waiting for exactly this moment. The real adventure was just beginning. Outside the station's viewports, the stars seemed brighter, more welcoming, full of infinite possibilities that a mature galactic civilization could now explore together with their human partners. The silence was ending, but the story of cooperation was just beginning.